Preparation time now for our drivers. There's Michael Patrizzi, his season highlight, 5th in WA. This man is showing really good form. Fabian Coulthard, 2 top 10s up at Queensland Raceway. Look at the enforcer. He's got that glint in his eye because he's having a lot of fun here this weekend. He's racing at the front of the field. Will Davison has already had success. In fact, won his first ever championship race out here at Sydney's West. Lee Holdsworth has become a father since we last saw him at Queensland Raceway. So congratulations to you, Lee, and Alana, little baby Ava. And there is Mark Winterbottom, a Doonside local, who is now leading the championship. This man started on the front row of the grid yesterday. Jonathan Webb, he's a little bit further down the field today, qualified 12th. Jamie Whincup will start on the front row. And David Reynolds, a Bottle Ford. And we can look ahead to the Sydney Telstra 500, a great event to finish off the year. The final weekend of November, and all your tickets on sale now. Just go to v8supercars.com.au. That's the best way to find your tickets for the grand finale, the Sydney Telstra 500. Not too far away at Sydney Olympic Park, but here we are at Sydney Motorsport Park now. You will all remember it as Eastern Creek Raceway. Back racing here for the first time in 4 years. Yesterday, Craig Lowndes took victory. Today, he's got pole position again for race 19 of the championship. But he's got his teammate alongside him on the front row of the grid, Jamie Whincup. And they're heading out to grid up under clear blue skies and a good crowd at this complex. $11 million has been pumped into this circuit over the last couple of years, and it's really starting to sparkle now. Okay, let's crunch all the numbers as we always do, thanks to Home Hardware. Here's Larko.
Sunday, Sydney Motorsport Park. Here's your track facts. Have a look at them. I don't need to go through them. What is important? We talk about the critical lap number, the earliest you can put fuel in the car and make it home. That's 30, but I'm going to rub that out. You know why? It don't matter. Today is about tyres and tyre degradation. Soft and hard tyres both must be used, and we know the soft tyre will do about 20 laps before it falls off a cliff. So if we look at our strategy, this is a tough one, believe me. Here's our fuel, here's our race distance. So nice straightforward strategy. Fill him up with fuel, run out, put some fuel, set of tyres, run those out, bit of fuel, and run it through to the end. Now, we know, remember, 20 laps on a set of tyres, we want our soft tyres on at the end of the race. That's when you need your performance. So in here, we know we're going to see the bulk of the field on a 20-lap sprint to the end on their soft tyres. So it begs the question, what happens in here? Now, I can tell you it's very hard to get the answers on pit lane, hard to predict. There'll be all sorts. Obviously, that'll be basically hard tyres. But what I do know from yesterday, there was a couple of teams conserved their soft tyres. So they may choose and have the opportunity to give them a little blast in here somewhere. The only thing they may lose out, if we get a safety car here, they lose that advantage. Now, tyre degradation. This is what it's going to be all about. Remember, the hard tyre is about 1.3 seconds slower than the soft tyre. Now, if I could just quickly do another little graph here to demonstrate, if we did a graph that said, right, here's our laps in the race along this here, and we've got time this way, slower being like that. Now, if I could graph hard tyre degradation, it would look something like that. So there's all your laps if we graph them. So they get slower over, and it's fairly linear. A soft tyre looks something like this. If you graphed it, it does that. So you can see there's your lap, and it drops off very quickly. This is what we call our crossover point, where the hard tyre is now faster than the soft tyre. Craig Lowndes yesterday, and this is why he's a master, if I graph him, he looks like this. He manages to do that. And that difference is about 5 laps. And that guy never was, but he's now a master at managing a degrading tyre.
Well, Luke Jacobs loves his V8 Supercars. He's a busy man at the moment. Luke, X Factor is just killing him. You're going great guns.
Yeah, we had the first week this week. It's been amazing. The first 3 nights we came #1 every single night, and it's just, the talent's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Tell us about tomorrow night. X Factor back on. The girls get a little bit of friction between Mel and Nat.
Yeah, we have a certain contestant that goes in for the auditions, and Nat loves her, and Mel doesn't think too highly of her, and causes a bit of tension. And you can see Guy and Ronan sort of turning their backs. They don't want to be a part of it at all, you know. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of people, the judges really want to win. And this year they're definitely going for gold.
It's been a great season so far. Speaking of great seasons, I know you love your V8 Supercars. We saw you in Adelaide. Yep. You're here. You're going to get to Bathurst for the first time this year.
Yeah, very excited. It's the 50th year anniversary for Bathurst, and it's going to be my first time up on the hill, and I couldn't be happier. So the guys down at SP Tools are going to take me up there for the weekend, and oh God, I'm so excited.
There we go. Shane Van Gisbergen's your favourite driver.
Yes.
How's his weekend looking? How's he going, getting set for today?
He's doing good. We had with the hard tyres and soft tyres, you know, obviously getting used to both of them. He's come in qualified 11th for the race this afternoon as well. So he's feeling comfortable with the car. The team's feeling good. So it's just a matter of getting his driving and the car working together at the same time, and hopefully the stars will be aligned.
All right, you better save some voice for tomorrow night too.
Yeah, I will. Thanks, mate. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Luke. Good to see you. Enjoy it.
He knows his V8 Supercars, Luke Jacobs. We had him up here in the commentary box just after qualifying. He took a little photo and he tweeted it, so he's right into it, and he's after a guest commentary job. Don't worry about that. So he's been hanging out down there at SP Tools Racing. He'll be part of the Bathurst experience as well. And if you'd like to join the conversation, check it out. Use the hashtag V8SC. We'll get through your comments as the course of the afternoon runs through. 56 laps, so we've got a lot of time to break down a lot of things. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this one unfolds with the Team Vodafone guys clearly on fire on the front. By the way, I got to the bottom of what happened to Jamie Whincup's tyre yesterday, the reason why it did start to delaminate. We thought that when he went off at the turn up the top there, that he might have, you know, found something in the dirt and all the junk. It wasn't. He actually ran over something coming down the front straightaway. So he remembers running over something that clearly just cut straight into that tyre and chopped it up, and the result was he was left with steel at the end. Larko?
Yeah, just want to grab a quick word with Garth Tander. Hey, Garth, just watching the practice sessions and qualifying generally, mate, I've never seen so many blokes, and I don't mean you, I mean everyone, throwing springs and bars and suspension settings at these cars. This is clearly tougher than we think.
If it easy, you'd still be doing it, Larko. Yeah, look, it's competitive, certainly is. And, you know, Triple Eight and FPR are the form team at the moment, and, you know, we're all scrambling to catch up. There's no doubt we've had a lot of work to do and still got a lot of work to do. But certainly our cars have been much more competitive this weekend than they have been in the recent past. So it's a really tough circuit to get right, this one, and there's been a lot of resurfacing over the last couple of years since we've been here. So there's about 3 or 4 different grip levels all the way around the track. So finding a balance on the old surface, medium stuff, and the really new stuff, hard work, mate.
Lucky you're a wise old head, mate. Good luck.
Hey, Michael Caruso enjoying this weekend. 3rd row of the grid today. Another good qualifying performance. 4th yesterday, mate. This is all coming together.
Yeah, look, we had a pair of 9ths up at Queensland Raceway, which I was really happy with, and we knew we needed to improve on our qualifying, and we've worked hard on it, and it's paying off now. So I guess the next part is finish it off in the race. So long race today in front of a big crowd. It's good to see so many people out here again today, and hopefully we can keep coming back here because I really like this place.
All right, enjoy it. Have a good start, Michael. Well done.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Michael Caruso is born and bred in Sydney, and he'll be looking forward to this afternoon. It's the 4th straight top 10 qualifying effort for Michael, and for Russell Ingall for that matter as well, and that's the first time that both of those guys have had a run like that in the top 10 in qualifying since 2009. So they're coming together at just the right time, both, of course, at opposite ends of their careers. Racing after this. To race 19 now of the 2012 Championship, the last race before we head off to Sandown and then Bathurst for the 2 Enduros of the year. So 220 kilometres, we'll have 28 starters, all 28 finished yesterday, and that is 56 laps around this 3.91 circuit. We've had 4 different race winners for 2012. Will Davison has won 6 times, Jamie Whincup 5, Craig Lowndes now 4 times, and Mark Winterbottom 3 times. He leads the championship head-to-head. Holden versus Ford, 9 wins each after 18 races of the season. Let's check out this circuit, Crompo.
And it's about 20 metres shorter than it was when we last raced here in 2008. There's 11 turns. Interesting when you look at the way you have to treat the throttle around here. About 40% of the lap is 100% throttle, and that explains to us just how important handling is around here. And the biggest part of the handling story is all about tyres, and we'll be talking a lot about that again this afternoon. New lap record established yesterday by Jonathan Webb. Blows away the number achieved by my colleague Mark Scaife back in 1999 on the Bridgestone tyres. Great performance by Jono.
Well, an exciting time, Craig Lowndes. Nothing better than looking down the track and seeing just clear road ahead of you.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. I suppose it's a little different from yesterday, but knowing that we've still got a long race in front of us, we want to make sure that we get down into turn one in a reasonable position. We'd love to be in front. I hope we can be, but, you know, there's pretty stiff competition going around with us.
Some of it's right next door to you here. What happens when the teammate and you find yourself side by side at turn one?
Yeah, well, Roland's always said that, you know, he's happy for us to race as long as we don't end up in a gravel trap. So, touch wood, we can have a good, clean turn one, turn two, and then sort ourselves out.
Have a great one, Lowndesy. All the best.
Thanks, Brett.
Mark Winterbottom, championship leader, mate. Now, Jamie Whincup directly ahead of you on the circuit. You know how tough he is a racer. By his own admissions, his starts are less than average, mate. If I were you, straight behind him round the outside. What do you think?
You reckon outside?
I would, mate.
I'm liking inside. I just want to get off the line. That's my first priority, but he's a renowned, not the best starter, but I don't know. If I can get off the line and get it moving, I'll try and pick it, but that's the hardest thing in our sport. It's a flick of a coin. If you go left, it could work. You go right, it could work, but it could all come unstuck as well. So 50-50, I'll try and get it right.
Come on, mate. I reckon he's going to go left to cover, so go around the outside. But listen, you look relaxed, you look cool, and I like you when you're like that. You're dangerous, so good luck.
Thanks, mate.
And after that advice, I think Frosty's head's spinning, Larko. Thanks for planting that seed of doubt just before the start of this one. And of course, Mark Winterbottom now leads the championship after such a dramatic day yesterday. It's a 20-point difference now over Jamie Whincup. It's the first time since about mid-season 2008 that Frosty's been at the head of the queue. And Craig Lowndes now 162 points adrift of the championship lead.
We've got the sandblasting around the front of the car. So we go on board here and have a look at David Reynolds and the Botlow Performance Racing Ford. The cars are presented in concourse presentation when they roll out. This is Jacques Villeneuve. Vast Formula One and IndyCar experience and great success. But of course, after they've done a session or two around here, it's just amazing. The fronts of the cars and it's not just the front bumper and lower front wing section, it's the A-pillars, the top of the roof. They get absolutely hammered. If it was your road car, you'd cry all the way home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the funny thing there was Larko's comments with Mark Winterbottom. Mark Winterbottom used to drive for Mark Larkham, and here's Larko still giving a bit of advice. Drive around the outside at turn one. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, really smart.
You'd like to see Frosty's thought bubble when he asks those questions.
Russell Ingall, 213 championship event starts now, third on the all-time list. We talked about Michael Caruso's qualifying runs of late, and look at the focus on Jamie Whincup. He knows that the start has been absolutely crucial, and it will be today.
And yesterday's was a pretty ordinary start for him. If you weren't with us in our telecast, it was a battle for him.
Well, he lost 7 spots. He went from pole position, and he went right back to 7th.
Let's check out the Fuso starting grid and have a look at the way they'll line up for race number 19 today. 220 kilometres, Craig Lowndes on pole. 5th of the season, the fastest lap time ever around Sydney Motorsport Park. Whincup alongside, then Jason Bright, best qualifying since Western Australia. He'll be alongside Mark Winterbottom. Will Davison and Michael Caruso. Remember, Michael started 4th yesterday. It was hard to get the tyres to perform over the distance. Garth Tander, great job yesterday. He finished 4th. Russell Ingall finished 5th. Can those guys further improve? David Reynolds, we're on board with him before. Fabian Coulthard's been threatening to get on the podium this year. Shane Van Gisbergen and Jonathan Webb. Then James Courtney and Rick Kelly next in the queue, 13th and 14th.
15th belongs to the Frenchman, Alex Premis. So a good qualifying effort for him at a track, of course, that he's never seen before. James Moffat, Team Norton will start right alongside him. Then it's Stevie Johnson and Tim Slade, lucky 7 races. As we go down towards position 20, we find the only Sydney-based driver still of David Wall. There's Dean Fiore and Tony D'Alberto for Team Highflex. Dean Fiore caught up with his teammate yesterday in a tangle up at Corporate Hill. Douglas and Holdsworth. And then Todd Kelly and Steve Owen. Position 26 for VIP Pet Foods. Carl Reindler has done a bit of a dash in between our last event and this one. He went across to London to watch and cheer on his girlfriend, Elise Rapiki, who finished 7th in the sailing over there as she was trying to defend her gold medal. So it's been a whirlwind trip for Carl Reindler, but he's got a lot of bounce in his step today because he said finally this morning the car felt like a proper car. Didn't feel at all good yesterday, not to mention when he ran into one of his team bosses during practice.
Now, of the 28 cars that are out there, 7 of them have elected to start on the softer of the Dunlop tyres. The highest car in the field on the start grid at the moment with a soft tyre on it is Russell Ingall's car. So Rusty out there, watch for him in the Super Cheap Auto car. Also joining him in that list, Carl Reindler, Dean Fiore, Stephen Johnson, David Wall, James Courtney and Alex Premer. Drivers just cleaning the tread face of the rear tyre off, not dropping the clutch, just leaning on the car in first gear, bagging it up. And don't forget, wherever you are, if you have to leave us, you can catch up with all your V8 Supercar coverage thanks to Big Pond Sport on your Telstra Next G mobile.
5, 4, 3, 2, another one. Stop there. 1, edging, keep edging, keep edging, keep edging, keep edging, keep edging. Perfect.
See that little move?
Stop. Thank you.
Little move of the steering wheel there is to take every bit of load off the steering. So the little wobble of the wheel there for Lowndes was to make sure the steering is absolutely centered so you don't try to make the car change direction as soon as you hit it with the clutch at the start. All the guys now maneuvering their way into the box. This is, remember, a downhill start here, very easy for the cars to creep. A lot of pressure on Whincup here. Bad start yesterday. Teammate alongside him.
So the grid is just about set. Position 28 locked in.
Green flag, green.
We all know the start is absolutely critical. It's never been more so, especially for Jamie Whincup here. On the outside of his teammate Craig Lowndes. Lowndes got a great jump. Whincup's gone with him. Will Davison's gone spearing up the inside to grab a bunch of positions off the start.
Initial jump was good for Lowndes, but the secondary part of the start was very good for Whincup. He's rounded him up at 1. Whincup will lead into turn 2 by a little margin. Someone's wide at 1.
Ingall got a great start. He's up to 4th.
So the two guys who got a bad start yesterday, Whincup and Davison, got great ones today. And they're now 1st and 3rd on the road.
It's chaos when you're in the mid-pack through turn 3. There's rocks flying, dust, rubber, debris, paint, plastic.
Oh, Ingall, big moment out of turn 4 into 5. Right out sideways. Remember, he's the highest placed car on the soft tyre. Jason Bright, shocking start. He's gone from 3rd to 9th or 10th.
There he is. He's battling at the moment with Alex Premer.
Out of turn 6. Over Corporate Hill. Down now to the hairpin at 8.
The reaction to the light. Looked very good initially for Craig Lowndes. All problem here. Alex Premer.
Tyre flat. Left-hand front tyres flat.
Where he pops out here.
I think helmet on the floor. Oh, shit.
That's French for I'm coming in.
What kind of problem? What a bad job to get it back on.
No, he was very
right
lucky
spot.
to rejoin safely. Then that was awkward.
Amazing speed. Now Ingall on the inside of Davison. And Russell slides through and slides up into 3rd. So the leading car on soft tyres, car 66. The next in the queue is Walkinshaw stablemate James Courtney. He's 11th. Stephen Johnson, Dean Fiore, Carl Reindler, Alex Premer and David Wall. The other cars on soft to start this race on soft tyres.
Premer's guys are also talking about having a look at the steering on this car, so he must have had a little rub with somebody. They're looking under the front left there at the moment to check that steering arm, make sure that it's safe descending. So they're putting another wheel and tyre on it now. Here's the replay of the start from behind.
Check out Will to the far left of your screen. So he just went right around towards the wall, hugged the inside at the corner, and made up 2 or 3 spots.
And this is what Neil said. The initial jump for Lowndes was great. The secondary part of the start was really poor. It looked like he couldn't get it out of first gear. And then Whincup right around the outside. And then contact here into the back of Slade. That's Wall and Slade making wheel contact at turn 1. And then have a look at this. This is an ugly moment for Alex Premer. Left-hand front tyre flat, so he's got a steering arm problem. And now we see Wall in. That will be the contact we saw at turn 1, wheel to wheel with Tim Slade. Oh, they put it on the ground. Dropped it. Just dropped it without the wheel on it. As Ingle makes inroads on Craig Lowndes. Ingle with the fastest lap time so far, a 31.14. Around the inside of Lowndes at turn 2, and he forces his way across the road there. Craig had no option but to get out of the throttle and pull back in behind for turn 3.
It's a graphic demonstration of what grip will do for you in a racing car. Russell's got the softer tyre. He can place the car more accurately. He nipped around the inside of turn 2 then, and you could see the speed difference between them. Just easily able to do what he wants with the car. He's got grip. He's got to use it while he can without abusing this tyre set too early.
So started 8th, now up in the 2nd. From now on, doesn't have to fight anyone like we've been speaking about throughout the course of the weekend. You've got to use these soft tyres hard if you've got to make them really work to get through the field, because you're just going to chew them up. Now he's in a position where he can go to a time and start concentrating on maintaining that soft tyre.
Did you see Jamie floating the car all the way out round Corporate Hill at turn 7, ending up 1 millimetre to spare between the right side of the car and the grass there. He keeps it flowing. He tries to reduce as much load and stress as he can through that tyre set, because he's got a tyre management task ahead of him as well. It's not just a question of looking after the softer tyre. You've got to look after all your tyres around here.
So remember, there's only 7 cars on the soft, 21 on the hard. Great shot, turn 1. 210 kilometres an hour as they get to that curb. And the interesting part now is, and you'll see some form differences through this race, because this indicates speed on the hard tyre. This doesn't correlate with speed on the soft tyre, nor does it correlate with how hard the cars are on that tyre. Later on in the race, we'll see differences in the way the drivers approach this, but also the good cars on the other compound.
First intermediate timing split on this lap shows Russell Ingall, not surprisingly, is the fastest man out there. He's now just 3/4 of a second behind the race leader Whincup. So by the time this lap is done, he'll be knocking on the door as we go on board here with David Reynolds at turn 7. Hard on the brakes, then down 2 gears for the right-hand hairpin. And we're already entering that phase of the afternoon where you can see that the western sun becomes an issue with picking your braking reference, getting into that hairpin.
Hard on the limiter, that's 4th gear. In qualifying, the guys go up to 5th, then back for 3rd. There's a new curve on the left-hand side there. This has been resurfaced, slightly more banking, and a very wide exit. And we saw yesterday Whincup off the road there with Davison.
Great place to watch from up there as well. You get a terrific view as they come around onto the main straightaway. Crank it up to 270 k's with that approach down to turn 1. Jamie Whincup is our race leader. He's got a ½ a second lead over a hard and fast charging Russell Ingall. There's the view on our mega wall here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Team Vodafone very pensive at pit lane. They know that Russell Ingall is on the soft tyres, and as you can see on the track coverage there, he has now taken over the lead of this race. Let's go on board with Jamie Whincup and check in with Larko.
Yeah, I just stuck my head inside Ingall's garage there, Matty, just to see what tyres he's on, because I know they were thinking about maybe running their used soft tyres, but he's on his brand new set of softs. And there's a couple of things at play here, isn't there? Because if he gets a safety car anytime soon, obviously he's going to lose that advantage. And remember, we've just gone through a period of 3 entire races without a safety car. I can't remember as long a period. The other thing I want to just say is, noting guys like Ingall, Lowndes, some of these more experienced guys really demonstrated yesterday their ability to manage tyres, where the younger guys, yes, they can go as fast, but they can't manage them as well. So it's sort of, so Oscar, our engineer, and myself had a little bit of a sit down and look at this, and there's an absolute correlation between age, maturity, experience, and your ability to manage the tyres against speed. I mean, Neil, think about what a world champion you'd be now.
You were playing really nicely up to that point, Larko. Here's the replay of Russell Ingall. We're all engaged and interested in what you said until the nonsense at the end. So here we go. Here's the replay. Check out Ingall crisscrosses on the rear bumper. He almost wipes the nose across the rear bumper as he changes to the inside. Does it nicely. We were watching his lap speed very carefully in the lead up to that, and we even raised the question, is he on new or old soft tyres, because it didn't look like he was hammering them too hard. I think what he's doing here is driving to some extent to a number that he and Rob Starr would have discussed to try and make sure that he makes the pace, but at the same time doesn't knock those tyres around too much. Having said that, on the last lap, including the passing manoeuvre, he was 9/10 of a second quicker than Whincup. It's pretty healthy.
Yeah, and add to that comment, Neil, if you look, remember Jonathan Webb yesterday did exactly this, put his new soft tyres on to start. Looked really good, but there's an argument that says he maybe pushed too hard, took that out of the tyre and never had it to extend his life on.
Yeah, well, his car was also quite bad on the hard tyre later, Larko, so he had a bit of a double whammy. He didn't know how fast to treat the new tyre, the soft tyre at the start, and then the car didn't suit the hard tyre. This is this run into turn one. It's just fantastic. 270 Ks, where that brake marker is, the last one on your left, driver's right, is 100 metres. And then they brake and slide the car, coming back from 6th gear into 5th gear, to the middle of the corner where the mid-corner speed is 210 kilometres an hour. One of the best corners in Australian motorsport.
And there's a little bump on the concrete pad on the exit of turn one, and when you hit it just nicely, the car has a little float and a little rise on the exit, and you kiss yourself as you pass it and go, that's good. I didn't actually end up in the rocks there on the grass. Good job, well done. It's great to watch the car control down there and the commitment of the drivers. Fantastic. Larko was down there watching and describing yesterday. It was awesome.
As Carl Reindler comes in, we were just checking out James Courtney, who's the next in the list on the soft tyres. Now, he's 9th, and James started in 13th, so he's having to fight his way through. That's what we're talking about. And the traffic's in front of you. You've got to use those softer tyres more and more. You've got to pick through them more and more, whereas Ingle at the other end has gone straight to the front. Now he can control his own race. And what a difference it's been for Russell Ingall to be racing at the front of the field. He's won 27 races in his career, but not since 2005 has he saluted the checkered flag. And after Queensland Raceway, great quote, talked about the beauty of being at the front, because down the back is like a jungle. You don't know who's going to come out of the trees.
And that's the issue.
Very true.
Courtney's got at the moment on the soft tyres. We look at Van Gisbergen up the inside here, but even when you've got grip, if you're mixed up with a lot of other traffic, it becomes very difficult sometimes to apply it. Fiore and Van Gisbergen side by side on the run down to turn one. That's 270 kilometres an hour, with James Moffat in the new car in the foreground, and the Kiwi prevails, so Shane gets through.
Interesting, guys, when Ingle passed Whincup had a 1.9 second lead over Lowndes. Now, the lead Whincup has, both on the hard tyre and Lowndes, is only 0.7 of a second. So Lowndes has just crept up over the last couple of laps.
So this little battle here, the car right in the middle, car 12 of Dean Fiore, is on soft tyres. So he's traded blow for blow with Shane Van Gisbergen coming down to turn one. And the Giz has got past him, and now Tim Slade looks as though he's carrying more pace behind the Jim Beam car.
Yeah, so the condition of Dean's tyres perhaps are not quite up to spec, so he's actually finding it a bit of a struggle now on those tyres.
So remember, you can see that by the amber, the orange light. You see that there in the windscreen of car 12, Dean Fiore. How you identify that soft tyre. Look at the sandblasting around the front of the car. You saw the Mark Winterbottom mobile at the start, but that Jim Beam car now, the damage is unbelievable. Great question here on Twitter. Are all the teams using windscreen tear-offs, and how many do they generally have? They've normally got 2 or 3, so you can follow us there on Twitter. Fire your questions in, and Neil will do his very best to answer.
Beautiful handball.
if I'd remembered to bring my phone to work today.
Oh, your wife's been calling a couple of times.
That's what you call a hospital pass. Have you answered the question?
Yes, I did. Yeah, there's usually 2 or 3. Right. Yeah. And they all do.
Thank you. The tear-offs. So Russell Ingall now 1.5 seconds ahead of Jamie Whincup. He's now done 9 full laps on the soft tyres. Tyres, tyres, tyres. That's what it's all about today. Live V8 Supercar racing on 7 Sport. Hope you're enjoying it. Sydney Motorsport Park. It's the 19th race of the season. Here's the scenario. Russell Ingall on soft tyres leads this race from Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes. We're on the harder tyre. We're looking at David Reynolds and Fabian Coulthard. So positions 7 and 8 on lap 12. So we're heading towards the first critical number of lap 16.
And Fabian's really torturing the back of David's car at the moment on the exit of turn 3 here. It was a very difficult weekend for Reynolds at Queensland Raceway with tonsillitis. We've seen some very strong performances from him this year. Steve Owen in for his stop in the VIP Pet Foods entry.
Need to push on this out lane. Go, 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 go. All clear, all clear. Go.
Thought I saw the wheel move then on that car, which is illegal and stop.
Outside tires are done.
And watch through the
Clear when you drop.
regulations where you are not permitted to have the rear wheel moving, so it'd be interesting to see there whether that was the case.
Hey guys, just lurking around the Super Cheap Auto Garage and talking to Rob Starr. At the moment they're watching Russell's tyre degradation. If his times start to drop off, they'll bring him in, but their plan is to try and get him to lap 18, so he's got a few more still to go on the softs.
All right, I've been checking out his times too, Barretts, and they are starting to equalise versus the Whincups and Lowndes.
Yeah, so he put it in gear, so he must have been in neutral. And he put it in gear, and as soon as it went into gear, the clutch drags a little bit and the wheel moves. So there might be a little bit of drama attached to that.
All right, so last time round, 132.46 for Russell, 132.457 for Whincup. So Jamie fractionally faster that time around on the harder tyre.
They're still the quickest couple of cars in the race. Just in the last 2 laps, Whincup has equalised that number, and as you say, he's just started to creep the margin back a little bit in his favour. Mark Dutton's been keeping him up to speed with that. It's been a further clarification of that wheel spinning rule, which is the reason Mark made reference to it. There was a bit of controversy about that a couple of race meetings back. So 1.4 seconds is the margin, Ingall to Whincup. So we'll stay on board here with Mark Winterbottom around the back of turn number 7. You can crank up the audio, sit back and enjoy a hot lap of Sydney Motorsport Park.
Turns out of it because they've called in Frosty this lap. So watch him dart off to the left here.
And just have a look at the commitment into the lane here. We spoke about this a couple of times this weekend. Oh, so throw it at the line, get it back to first.
You've got a straight run in, Frosty. It's nice and good. I'd pop your light on there, buddy. Light on. No light, sorry. Sorry, mate. Sorry. No light. Pardon me. Maybe in throttle position, brother. Have a good run out, Frosty. Good run out. About a 9 seconds off.
They look green, those tyres.
You go clear when you go, mate. Clear when you go.
So there was a hard tyre going back on. Hard tyre going back on, but they looked green. Just check for you on that.
So what a lot of people, we believe, are going to do here.
Bring back the 2 for a while.
It's the voice of Campbell Little again. It was Chris O'Toole car controlling at the front of the car. We're not looking at this as a fuel race. They're looking at it as a tyre race. So they try and spread the load across their tyre sets. 3 stints, 2 stops. It was great to ride with Frosty then to the pit in. You get an indication of just how downhill it is. How you've got to get the speed out of it, get back to first gear, get the pit lane speed limiter on 40 k's, negotiate that little chicane, get yourself sorted, switch all the right things on and off, get your throttle percentage sorted for the departure and do it all perfectly.
Clearly about to happen on pit lane, boys. A lot of activity down here. I can see the Vodafone cars heading in right now. They were not green tyres that went on Winterbottom's car, Skatey. They'd been rolling.
Thanks, mate. So Whincup now was only, he saw the little time gain. He'd actually made some ground back on Ingall, and he'd also just stretched that lead a little bit on Craig Lowndes. And look at them all now, all firing in.
So 4 cars in. Whincup, Reynolds, Coulthard and Tander peak our Sydney Motorsport Park pit lane as a bunch of them start to react now to their strategy play.
Break clutch for me, please, Jado.
In from position 2 for Whincup. They are green.
All wheels are done. Just waiting on fuel. Nothing in pit lane that we're concerned about. Good to go, mate. See you. Be clear. You'll be clear. Just
It's
go.
nice chat, isn't it?
Go, 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 go. All right, remember you've got cold green tyres. Try and get the meeting before turn 2.
So that was James Small talking to David Reynolds there. The Botlow Ford Performance Racing Ford. Looked like hard tyres went back on that one as well. They were new hard tyres for Jamie Whincup. So get some heat in was the word. Well, good luck with that, because you flick the pit lane speed limiter off and you negotiate the pit out and basically arrive at turn 2.
That's right. You see them sliding. It was a great shot coming out of pit lane. Coulthard was right out sideways. So was Tander. And as Neil said, you come out with a green tyre and all of a sudden you got up from 40k to try to accelerate up to about 200k coming out of the pits down into turn 2.
Craig Lowndes has come into pit lane, so Whincup gets out ahead of Mark Winterbottom. Now Lowndes comes in.
Got a visual on you there.
Caruso behind him. Courtney follows.
Just set up, mate, so we'll see if we can...
So James Courtney's done 14 laps on the soft tyre before coming in.
Okay. Paul, there was a rear roll centre, not side. Thank you for that.
So that's a lot. Rear roll centre up 5 for Lowndes. So he's looking for more turn, a lot more turn.
They're green too. Those tyres are green.
No, we've got a gun failure, right rear, gun failure, right rear. Okay, we're all done. Good to go, all clear, good to go.
That was costly because he was taking a bit of time out of his teammate, but that burnt 4 or 5 seconds. Look at the gap now. It's opened up between those two cars.
Well,
there
Frost
he is.
coming. Here comes Winterbottom. So Lowndes slots in behind.
Great management of a crisis. They had a protocol and a procedure. Gun failure, right rear. Immediately the other alternative gun was in place. Bang, fixed the problem, sorted it, sent the car. No Keystone Cops, nailed it, sent it, dealt with the problem.
Yeah, it's very good. This is very difficult when you go on a green tyre for the first half a lap. You've got no grip at all. The cars slide everywhere. They have what they call mould release. So the shiny look to the tyre is to get the tyre, when they're produced, out of the mould. So by the time you actually clear that surface, that shiny surface condition, takes 4 or 5 corners, very easy to make a mistake. That's why you hear the engineers saying cold tyres, because that signal is to keep the drivers tempered on those opening 3 or 4 corners.
And if you ask your car to brake from the same point, turn with the same amount of load placed on the tyres as you did the previous lap on a stone cold tyre, you will fire straight off the road. And sometimes it seems like a strange thing at home, I'm sure, when you're sitting there or standing there, low heart rate, soaking this all up. In the cockpit with a high heart rate and a lot to think about, it's very easy to suddenly find yourself out there thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to drive to the rhythm that I did 60 seconds ago, and it will burn you. And plenty of big names over a long period of time have made that mistake.
Also, too, I guess if you come out of pit lane and find yourself straight back into a battle. Now, watch this. So I'm not sure.
It wasn't torque, it wasn't tension. So
yeah, the gunfire. So when he went to turn it from one direction to the other, it didn't engage. And when he said gun failure, clearly, as Neil said, there was already a protocol in place, and a bit of risk management there, got away with it.
Guys, you might want to put a circle around Stevie Johnson's name. He's got great tyre stocks going. He was at the back of the pack yesterday, so he only did a couple of laps on one set of his soft tyres. So they've turned them around for today. He's on hards at the moment, started on soft with 18 laps to go. They're going to bring him in, put the softs back on and sprint it to the line.
Okay, let him go. Cut loose towards the end, Brett. Stevie Johnson currently in position 21. Keep your eyes on the Jim Beam racer. Russell Ingall, the old-timers out the front. He's now done 17 full laps on the soft tyre. He continues to lead the way at Sydney Motorsport Park. Welcome back. There's been a change at the front. Jason Bright is now the race leader because Russell Ingall has processed through pit lane after 18 laps on that soft tyre. So Russell is rejoining 8th. So Bright, then it's Van Gisbergen, James Moffat, then it's Whincup. And this battle is
live.
A ripper.
Lowndes is climbing all over the back of Mark Winterbottom here through the back of Corporate Hill and looks menacing. Bright, who was the race leader, is now in. Interesting, we've just crunched the numbers in the break for the tyre degradation for Russell Ingall on the softer tyre. It was about 0.1 of a second per lap. It's pretty good in reality as Bright peels off from the lead of the race. Shane Van Gisbergen joins him. That'll leave James Moffat in the lead of the race in the Norton entry. So that's an improvement over yesterday. Now, whether that's driver, car setup, conditions, or a combination of all three, will hearten the other teams that they can get more out of their tyre. Gee, that's bowled down the inside of one. Lowndes is just pushing the margins here at the moment.
He had a big run at him. That was a big dive.
You don't often see people get through there either. And if you're frosty, it's hard enough to concentrate on where you need to place your own car than keep one eye in the mirror. Here it is again in replay, looking from the rear bumper of the Ford Performance Racing Orcon Falcon. Look at that menacing Vodafone car through one in the Andy Holt station.
And he moved it over. Winterbottom moved it over early in the braking area so that he covered him. And at 210 kilometres an hour, there is no room between those two guys, and he's really on it. He's going to get back down the inside at 6, and he gets it done. Good pass. A little crisscross now for Mark Winterbottom, if he can get the drive, but Lowndes gets off turn 6 clean enough to command track position for turn 7. So well done.
That was a good job, wasn't it? And Ingall now buy in here as well. Remember, he's on the fresher tyres here by a couple of laps.
Well, Mark Winterbottom has fond memories as a kid of jumping on his push bike from his Doonside home, riding over here and watching these guys that he's now racing go around this circuit. Back in 1996, he remembers Lowndes starting here and winning. And now, here he is sandwiched in between Lowndes and Ingall all those years later.
We've got a good run off the final corner here. His corner exit speeds up. He's in the draft. He'll have a look down here at 1. The easiest spot will be down at 2. He's had a look. He's positioned himself. You watch. He'll pick the throttle up as early as he dare. Rusty will try and look down the inside of 2 if he can. Not quite close enough. Or is he?
Big dive. Oh, that was close, and he's there. Great pass. Well done. That was a very good pass. In fact, he almost bluffed Mark Winterbottom out of that then. He wasn't really in there far enough, and Winterbottom thought that he was at the first apex for turn 2. So Ingall puts a huge amount of pressure on Winterbottom. He lost a bit of ground in the area that Neil said in the middle of turn 1. I thought he was back too far, and he come from 2 or 3 car lengths back to get down the inside. Very well done. This is genuine car speed today from the Super Cheap Auto Commodore.
And not only that, great wisdom, Mark, because isn't that a great example of Russell knowing that Winterbottom's sitting on a championship lead today and bluffed him beautifully.
He did. That's exactly right, Larko. When you're not in the championship hump, you can be a bit bold. And Winterbottom had to be conservative. He was reasonably conservative with Lowndes. We saw him cover him. And have a look at this. That'd be 2 to 3 car lengths. And straight down the inside, right on the braking threshold. Winterbottom has to give him room. And Lowndes gets it, and Ingall gets it done.
That was an excellent move by Ingall to get through at turn 2. Also appreciate from the driver's seat here the difficulty of the task of keeping an eye on what's going on behind. You've got your curves. Dear me. I'll tell you the story about this later, folks. You've got your hands device on. Dear. That's another story for another time. James Moffat's in. You've got your hands device on. You've got the roll cage. You've got the safety net in the car. You're trying to sight what's going on in the mirrors.
Do you want me to explain?
No, I will explain it now. We had in the break, those joining the Twitter conversation, we have one here from a thruster asking us, why isn't the KERS working on the cars? I think you might be confusing the category. So I had KERS on the mind when I wanted to talk about the hands device.
He's purporting, this thruster bloke is purporting to be Kimi Räikkönen.
And it wasn't why isn't the KERS working, it was why isn't the KERS working? Now, mate, Greg Russ has struck again. Well done, Rusty.
Yeah, and Neil, this will be Larko on the pit lane. If you want to make an apology for anything you've said to me over the last 3 years, now's the time, pal.
go back into your bunker, please, Larko.
All right, everything's been processed now. So Whincup is the true leader of this race for this next phase. Craig Lowndes in second, Russell Ingall in third. Hasn't been on the podium since 2009, the enforcer. Hasn't won a race for 7 years. Is today the day? That's the Pepsi Max crew going to work on car 51. Normally Greg Murphy's car. For the last few rounds it's been Jacques Villeneuve's plaything here in the V8 Supercars. And so he's finally completed his first pit stop of the afternoon. And if you weren't with us yesterday, we sent our best wishes out to Murph, as we have been, not only for coming on back after that back surgery. It's going to be great to see you at Sandown, Murph, but also for a milestone birthday just last week. So happy birthday, mate. And it'd be good to see you back for the Enduros. So Whincup leads by 8.4 seconds over his teammate Lowndes. That's how they started on the front row of the grid. The other way, Lowndes started on pole position. Russell Ingall's moved up to third. Mark Winterbottom under attack. He's holding fire in fourth. David Reynolds in fifth, and there's Fabian Coulthard. Behind him is Will Davison, then it's Tander, Caruso and Courtney to make up our top 10. On soft tyres right now, Michael Patrizzi and Alex Prema.
They were having some comms problems also with Villeneuve's car there. You saw them just checking the radio connector while he was in that stop. He got as high as 8th and has dropped back in the field now at 23rd. So now we've got this 8.5 second margin, Whincup to Lowndes. Lowndes hurt by his earlier pit stop. We'll have a look at the footwork involved in the task here. We go on board here with Mark Winterbottom. Just looks like perhaps there's a little bit more rubber on the circuit. There is certainly just a tiny bit more cloud cover today than we had yesterday. And I just get the sense that with the numbers that we're seeing and we're plotting here at the moment, we're not looking at the same level of tapering of lap times that we saw yesterday. I think the tyres are just hanging in there a little bit nicer. Both tyres, both tyre types.
The fastest lap of today, Crompo, 131.1. Done on the second lap of the day when Russell was on the softs. And the quickest lap done yesterday, a 130.9 by Jonathan Webb.
We'll probably see that number get moved though in the final stint of the race when everybody jumps onto, or the majority jump onto some soft tyres. Good conditions, it'll cool out a little bit, the tyre grip will be up. They'll be starting to burn down their fuel load a little.
See, then he had to have a big lift out of the throttle, Neil. He ran wide and he was going to run off the road on the exit of turn 1, which you referred to before. You were talking about how fast it is and how dangerous it is. He was going to go off and he had to come right out of the throttle. Look at this. This is turn 4. A nice smooth modulation here. The cars, FPR, have very good mid-corner speed. So for this style of circuit where the corners are quite long in the radius of the corner, tends to suit these sorts of corners. And you watch Mark Winterbottom's style. He breaks it very nicely on the way into the corner, and then he loads a fair bit of throttle, more throttle than most of the guys in the middle part of the corner, maintains quite high mid-corner speed. As James Courtney speeds down the inside of Caruso.
This is for position. They're battling for 9th, 10th, and Bright's in there as well. 3 wide, Corporate Hill. This is very awkward when they're so close in basically a one-line groove. Now Bright prevails out the other side of all that.
Good job. That was a very, very good move. And Caruso gives Courtney a bump then, moved him wide. So he'll either have to yield here, because if he takes this spot, he'll be penalised for that. So Courtney stays around the outside of him. Good move. He's going to try to crisscross him now and can't get back down the inside. James runs a little bit wide, gives him a bit of space. And a little bit too much oversteer. That's what you were about to say. It just had too much sliding going, and Caruso now right in the toe.
What a show. What a show.
Straight line speed, he was just talking about it. He was right in the toe and couldn't pass the HRT car. So he was saying, what a joke, because HRT provide the engines to Gary Rogers Motorsport. So that was the complaint that Caruso was making.
Jason Bright there was rewarded straight away for making a committed move straight away. As soon as he saw the opportunity, he grabbed it. He moves up to 9th. Whincup remains our leader. Another round of stops coming, though. Back here at Sydney Motorsport Park, we're in that nervous part of the race. Most of the field, in fact, 26 out of 28 cars on the hard tyres, so they're all trying to hold position or make position for the next dash to the end of this race on the soft tyre compound. If you're Jamie Whincup, you're feeling pretty good about yourself right now. 9.3-second lead over Craig Lowndes.
We're approaching the point where they get to the critical lap number where they can come in, fuel up and run full rich to the checkered flag. From Mark Larkham's presentation earlier for Home Hardware, that will be around lap 30. Clearly it varies from car to car, team to team, moment to moment, but it's around that period of time. But the bigger part of the question here is tyres, and do you dare put extra laps on soft tyres? Well, Lowndes did 25 successfully yesterday on a soft tyre, and our numbers today indicate that you might even have slightly better conditions out there today based on what Russell Ingall did at the start of the race to do a longer stint on your softs. Megawall's got it all covered. How's that little battle going on in the track coverage at the moment? As we go on board here with Russell, he's in position 3 at the moment. He's 11.5 seconds from the lead of the race, but that car just off in the distance is Craig Lowndes. He's 2.1 seconds behind Craig.
Okay, mate, you're quicker than the guys behind you, not far off the phones in front, mate. Pace is really good. 29 laps gone.
It's Rob Starr talking to Russell. He's telling him about the pace. And clearly now it's all about how early you can get onto the soft tyre. We saw, as Neil said a second ago, 25 laps for Craig Lowndes. We normally talk about the undercut for fuel consumption, but this is undercut for tyre degradation. If you can get onto the soft tyre earlier and make the tyre live to the end, you will get a yield from that. You'll be faster than the guys that are on the hard tyre now. Craig Lowndes with that drama at the pit stop, he was only 1.5 seconds behind Whincup when all that happened. He's now 9.5 seconds behind, but soft tyre speed will suit Lowndes.
Interesting thing to focus on there is the amount of tyre wall distortion in that right rear tyre of Russell Ingall's. They work unbelievably hard. The load that they deal with is extraordinary. This is around the back of Corporate Hill. Look at that inside edge of the tyre. Braking area now for the hairpin, turn 8. Inside of the car isn't doing much there. Stay with it up at the final complex of corners 10 and 11. Then we'll run down the front straight and want to have a look at what the tyre does at turn 1. Big load here in the final 2 corners. Look at that. Now, clearly on the straight, pointing west, building to 270 kilometres an hour. Still a lot of crush in that tyre, even at high speed. And here we are, a couple of bumps, and then big, big, big load through turn 1. Now, the slowest value you see through there is about 210 kilometres per hour, and then hard under brakes at turn 2. Trouble for Steve Owen. Tangle with Tony D'Alberto at turn 6. And Tony's back in 19th with Lee Holdsworth just in behind at the moment. Just a lap or 2 back. They said to Lee, you can use more fuel if you need to try and make a spot. He's having a tough weekend.
Close to that pit window now. Just give me an idea going to the soft tyre. What do you think you're going to need? How much?
Two turns of roll centre, so depends on the pitch of the thread where the roll centre is adjusted from, and 2 turns probably something like 5 millimetres as Holdsworth gets down the inside of D'Alberto. So Whincup, Lowndes, Ingall, Winterbottom, Reynolds, Coulthard, Davison, Tander and Bright. Courtney at the back of the top 10. So at the moment we're only 2 or 3 laps away now from this critical lap number, and then this will unfold in terms of what car will suit the soft tyre and the sprint home.
So now they're inside the moment where you can grab the fuel and get home, but they've got to get to the right moment to be confident that they can race to the checkered flag on tyres. Now, if you were with us yesterday, you heard Craig Lowndes say... I heard Craig Lowndes say on the desk at the end of the day when we spoke to him, which we've been doing a bit of lately, that his front right tyre was like jelly at the end of the race. David Reynolds also reported the front right tyre really stressed at the end of the race.
Will Davison lost a lot of time versus his teammate. He was right with Winterbottom before the first stops. He's complaining over the radio that the car won't turn right. So there's obviously some steering damage or something that's affected one of the FPR Falcons. So Davison is in 7th. He was earlier, he was 4th. So this is pretty lively. There's Jack Villeneuve around the outside at Corporate Hill. Whincup has got by. And Prema, who's on the soft tyre at the moment.
And that answers my question as to why Whincup's lead over Craig Lowndes has just been chipped away a little bit. It was over 9 seconds. It's now 8.2, and clearly Jamie's come up to this lap traffic, but he's had to get around, so that would have hurt. It's now gone under 8 seconds, that lead. And not only that, Craig Lowndes is also doing good lap times.
These guys on screen at the moment can have an on-track battle, and then they can continue the discussion in French. One's a French-Canadian and the other one is a Frenchman, so it's appropriate that they be battling. Just goes to show, though, both those fellas on screen at the moment, as Lowndes comes in incidentally, have got extraordinary international racing credentials. It underlines how tricky it is to get the best out of these cars. They're, oh dear, Prema down the inside. That was close. And talk to both of them and they'll tell you just how hard it is to find the lap speed. They have great admiration for our front runners. So Lowndes and Davison are in.
This is the undercut. This is the first one to blink. The first one bold enough to put those tyres on. And these are the soft compound tyres to go into the last phase of this race.
Pretty much exactly what Craig Lowndes had to do yesterday. Effectively 24, 25 laps.
Okay, all wheels are done. Just waiting on fuel. There's nothing in pit lane here.
As you said, Neil, as he said to us, that front right was shot by the end of it. So there's just no wriggle space at all.
You should have a fairly clear exit.
Tony Delverto's in as well. So there's the control line where the pit lane speed limiter can be flicked off. Get back to racing speed and look now for that light illuminated in behind the windscreen, which you can clearly see on Will Davison's car, and it's white sidewalls on the Dunlop tyre. It's a soft tyre now for the trading post entry of Will Davison. They're going to run a couple more laps. Mark Dutton just informed Jamie Whincup we want to use up these tyres. They also want the shortest possible stint on their softs. There's Lowndes blazing by. It's James Moffat on the outside. That's a brand spanking new car since we last saw James. His previous car was the one that James Courtney won the championship in 2010. They're going to restore it.
Yep, nice straight run through there, boss. Yep, way to get through.
So he'll go straight through the pit lane box of the Techno Autosports guys. So a nice easy entry for Mark Winterbottom.
Gonna have a clear out. Watching Juzzy.
It's quite slippery. That concrete there, you see the guys have been very conservative coming in.
He's already got the light on, scoping
Go.
to indicate that he's on soft tyres now. Out he goes.
See where this puts him at the rejoin.
Craig Lowndes will come past on the right-hand side any minute. There he goes.
It's not an easy pit lane to depart either. That long left-hand corner that you have to negotiate on the inside of turn 1's tricky in its own right. It's narrow. It's usually pretty slippery. Yep. Tyres are cold. Try to wind north of 600 horsepower through cold tyres. First, second, third gear with these cars is very, very lively. It's not impossible, and we've seen people in the past crank sideways and end up jumping across the grass.
And Mark Dutton just said to Jamie Whincup, press on, brother, 3 hard laps. So he wants the very best from Whincup. Use every bit of life out of these hard tyres before he goes to the softs. And he might have got caught then with Webb on your left. No, he got by. Webb come out of the pit. And I thought that he may have got caught as he turned into turn 2.
Remember, though, that he had cushion, so he can afford a couple of little missteps here in the process. But he's got to be careful because his teammate Lowndes, as David Reynolds peels off, is doing very fast splits.
The cushion was just under 8 seconds.
That's right. So you can afford a little bit of drama, but not too much. How's the movement with these guns and wheels now? The gun goes on.
You're clear. At the moment, just go, no matter what.
Thought that wheel moved a little bit too then on the right-hand side.
Still clear. Still clear. Go.
It's a single fluent movement that brings the rattle gun to the wheel and the wheel onto the hub. Very skillful, these guys. Lowndes, meantime, fastest lap of the race, 1:30.95.
About 1/100th of a second outside the fastest time, and therefore race lap record set yesterday by Jonathan Webb. So we'll expect that time to go down. So another 2 laps, we think, for Jamie Whincup. No, coming on in.
Look at that approach. So fast. And look at all the wheel locking. Listen. Oh, usually you can hear the diff chatter where the wheels are on the verge of locking. It gets it back to 40k.
Kelly just tightening up to 11 nice mediums, so let's take advantage of that. We've got chance for 4 tyres and drink a juice. Need your foot on the brake and the clutch, please, mate. Nice and steady for us.
Resetting everything in the cockpit, ready for the incoming tyres. Russell Ingall's the leader of the race now. Great shot, this one.
Just got a man down the front of the car.
Windscreen tear off. Fuel's the limiting.
Just get that idle up for me, mate. Good to go.
Lowndes is about to enter the main straight as Whincup is about to exit pit lane. So there's Craig.
He's taken some time out of him, for sure.
I think it's taking about 4 or 5 seconds will be the difference. So Jamie leaves. Waiting, so it's still a good gap.
Lowndes straight down the inside of Steve Johnson, who's very committed coming out of turn 1. Shane Van Gisbergen now in service.
4-wheel start, waiting on fuel.
So it's at that critical stage of this race.
Go, out.
We're both going to leave together here. Van Gisbergen will keep his nose in front.
I think Slade may have helped him a little bit then. He come out of the front a little bit to let Shane out. It's Russell Ingall now, leader of the race, in the pit.
He's 45 seconds clear of Lowndes at the last timing mark.
About 10 seconds.
Now remember, because he used the soft tyres at the start, he may have to go on to the hards. It depends on what his tyres were like from yesterday.
But if it's a normal pit stop and normal transit, he'll come out about with Lowndes, regardless of whichever tyre it's on. But what can he do with it? That's the question you're asking.
Yeah, they're hard. They're going to put hard tyres on here.
So his ability to sprint won't be the same.
Clear.
But he'll be banking on strength at the end of the stint, provided the tyre doesn't degrade too much. Lowndes and Whincup in the foreground. Here's Lowndes here.
That gap, by the way, was pretty much as it was when they went in. So it was about a 7-on-second lead that Jamie had over his teammate, and it's remained that way after that stop. So here comes Russell.
He's actually behind Winterbottom.
So Jamie Whincup is effectively a race leader here by 7 seconds over Craig Lowndes. Garth Tander at the front of the field right now on lap 37 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Isn't it just amazing in this sport how you end up being paired up with somebody pretty much all weekend? And David Reynolds and Fabian Coulthard are probably sick of the side of each other, but they're having a very good scrap. Just as we came back to the break, from the break there, Fabian lost position. He went wide onto the dirt. They've been racing hard and fair. And watch this. Fabian dives in on the inside. And this has been what it's been like all day for car 55 and 14, the Lockwood entry. And then just when Fab gets a nice breakaway, he ends up on the dirt. Now he's back in front.
Yeah. And they've got to be very careful when they do stuff like this, because as invigorating as it is and as much fun, professional fun as it is, if you load the tyre too much in this phase of the race, you'll kill it and it'll be a struggle at the end, and they'll be acutely aware of that. It's how much do you race? How hard do you push? This was earlier as well in the break. Stephen Johnson arriving for Jim Beam Racing, and they're still laying up in the garage down at Jim Beam. They only just got all the stuff out in time.
Yeah, guys, just with Dick Johnson now, we're looking back at that bit of a tense moment there, Dick. Stevie just catching the crew off guard a little.
Well, obviously arrived a little earlier than expected, so those sort of things happened, but no damage done and everything sort of turned out really well.
Dick, tell us about the strategy for Steve now. He's got the soft tyres left over from yesterday. They've just gone on.
Well, they've only done a couple of laps, so they're obviously pretty good. And the fact is that, you know, a lot of the other guys are on soft tyres now, so we'll just see what plays out at the end of the day. All right, mate, good luck. Thanks, pal.
You wake up the crew pretty quickly when you arrive there with lights flashing. Where are my tyres, please, boys? Stevie Johnson's currently in 23rd. So let's run you through the highlights at this stage of the race. Lowndes and Whincup started on the front row of the grid. Lowndes got a good start, but Whincup got an even better one and took the advantage into turn 1. David Wall ends up on the right-hand side after some contact. So that was a big mess at the front of the Wilson security entry. And Russell Ingall, an early charger in this race. He started on the soft tyres and he made great use of them, picking his way through the field and finding his way all the way to the front of the field. And from there on, he could just put his head down and start to fire. He's currently in 4th position. A gun problem here on the right rear of car 888, and that cost Lowndes a few seconds. This battle that he had with Mark Winterbottom down at turn 1, can you imagine that? 270 k's on approach, 210 mid-corner speed, and they're, what, millimetres apart? Look at Russell, he's been in the thick of it all day. He caught Mark Winterbottom by surprise there. Fooled him into the move at turn 2. So the order at this stage, on lap 41 out of 56, Whincup leads 7.5 seconds from his teammate. Mark Winterbottom, our championship leader, is now in 3rd position. Russell Ingall's in 4th. He's on the hard tyres. One of only 2 guys inside the top 10 fighting on the harder tyre compound. James Moffat is the other. Back after the break.
Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park, lap 42 of 56, race 19 of the championship. Still beautiful conditions here and getting towards the back end of this 220-kilometre race. It's a 7.1 second margin, Whincup to Lowndes. Then it is Winterbottom and Ingall, but Davison is quite close to the back of Russell Ingall. Meantime, the lap record's been further lowered by Garth Tander on lap 40 at 1:30.9123. So Garth circulating pretty quick out there at the moment in 9th position.
A couple of things, guys. Talking to Russell Ingall, you might be surprised. You know, he put those soft tyres on early and he's gone back onto hards. But I've got to say, one thing we've seen is that you seem to yield more from the soft tyre late in the day when the rubber goes down. However, Russell was quite confident that he was really quick on hard tyres as well as soft. So he's gambling at the end of the race that people are going to drop off and he's still going to be motoring. But one of the real challenges here at this circuit, we've talked about this turn 1. These cars behind me here, 270 kilometres an hour, 6th gear. They're coming down. They're probably doing about 230 here and about 210 at the slowest point. Now, I've said it before, depth perception. Big part of race driving is you come down here into this funnel to try and gauge where you have that little dab on the brakes and back to 5th gear is very hard. Well, late in the afternoon, let me tell you, look at this. It is made that much harder. Look at that behind me. The afternoon sun, to try and get a read on where to place the car accurately. You remember Scafey said, you've literally got to drift very subtly the car into the apex of the corner. All that much harder. Now, if you have a look at Jamie Whincup's car, quite cleverly, one of the few in pit lane, if not the only today, with a nice little tinted screen or a tinted band across the screen. That's clever stuff.
Yeah, exactly. In the old days, we used to apply tape under the windscreen band across the top and basically come down, which was sort of what they've done there with the EcoBoost sign on Will Davison's car. But a lot of the cars now have the tint halfway down. That turn 1 is one of the best corners. In fact, we've got another tweet here. You said earlier about turn 1 being one of the best in the championship. If it's not the best, which one do you think it is? I reckon probably turn 1 at Phillip Island or maybe McPhillamy Park. What do you reckon, Croppo?
Oh, I've got a soft spot for the Metal Great Reed Park up the top of Mount Panorama. I just smile from ear to ear every time you drop the car in on there, and I can't wait every October when we get up there, and I'm looking forward to it again this year. Even to just stand there and witness the cars, to watch on telly or to stand up the top of the mountain, or as a participant, it's great stuff.
So this is a pretty healthy battle with Will Davison on soft tyres. Russell Ingall, of the top 10 cars, is essentially the only guy not on the soft tyre. So all that performance we saw at the start has been used in the early phase of the race. And look at that for championship. Can you believe this sport? I mean, 100-point turnaround yesterday, and now a 1-point difference.
So Jamie came into this weekend 82 points ahead of Frosty. Yesterday he was 20 points behind Frosty, and now he's 1 point ahead. So if it finished like that right now, that would be the championship picture heading into the Enduros.
And it's a real roulette wheel, these next 3 events, because they're endurance races, and you just basically, for 2 of them at least, at Sandown and Bathurst, just basically going to go out, share the car with your mate, do your 500Ks and your 1,000Ks. If something goes wrong, there's no coming back tomorrow, as is the case here. So it's a much higher risk couple of race meetings with a higher probability of all kinds of weirdness. So I think the drivers always sigh a sigh of relief in championship terms when they come out the other side of what is now 3 major Enduros, including the Armour All Gold Coast 600, and then get on with the championship fight. So it's going to be fascinating if that snapshot that we saw a moment ago is the way it plays out off the back of this event.
And spare a thought for guys like Paul Dumbrell, who's going to jump in with Jamie Whincup for the Sandown and Bathurst, and Stevie Richards, who's going to jump in with Mark Winterbottom for Sandown and Bathurst. They're sitting at home watching this going.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
I'll tell you who will be disappointed, be curious to find out what the story is afterwards, but Jason Bright, who qualified on the 2nd row, position 3, tardy start, but just hasn't been sighted since. There was a moment in the race where I thought he had a bit of pace, but really he's been pretty quiet. He's in 8th position at the moment, Team BOC entry.
Russell Ingall is actually doing a very good job of those top 5 guys on the hard tyre. He's, at the moment, only really about a 1/10 of a second difference to Will Davison. So there's a little crossover point. We've explained it through the weekend of soft tyre performance versus the hard tyre. And Ingall's performance at the moment is good enough probably to keep Will Davison at bay as long as he drives it straight and doesn't make a mistake. Very easy to make a mistake here, and someone has done that with a big brake lock-up. That's Michael Patrizzi into turn 8.
So these guys, Patrizzi in 12th, car 91, the white Commodore, and then that train of 5 cars involves Rick Kelly, Jonathan Webb, Shane Van Gisbergen, and next is Tim Slade.
That was a big brake lock-up. That will definitely hurt the right-hand front. And when you have a damaged right-hand front tyre here, it is so spooky at the 2 fast corners. This one now, turn 1. When the tyre's damaged, you've got to turn in there and load the tyre when it's damaged. And also Corporate Hill at turn 7 in the middle of the lap. You can imagine there at 210 kilometres an hour with a damaged right-hand front tyre, how weird that would feel.
When Stone Brothers racing with Ross Stone. And Ross, you'll be looking forward to packing up the truck on today and getting onto the Enduros.
Yeah, we've got a ride day tomorrow, but I'll be looking forward to getting home and doing our homework for the Enduros. Just our performance this weekend just wasn't what we need or expect, so we've got some work to do.
Good luck at Sandown. We'll see you there.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Ross
is pretty quiet-spoken sort of a guy, and when Ross says that, that's code for that's not good enough and I'm not happy. So look out in the forthcoming races. So that's the situation at the moment. 6.5 seconds, Whincup to Lowndes. Winterbottom and Ingall 3rd and 4th, but Ingall and Davison still pretty close at the moment. Rusty's got the harder tyre on. What will that yield in the back end of this race? We'll find out shortly.
Well, this is an extraordinary part of this race that we've just rejoined for. You've got Shane Van Gisbergen, Tim Slade and Jonathan Webb. Goodness knows how they've managed to all stay on the track. Just as we rejoined it, there was a little bit of paint swapped as well. They all came tearing down to turn 1. It seemed as though they were all intent on ending up on the other side of the fence.
The most vigorous part of that battle was Tim Slade parked on the rear bumper of Shane Van Gisbergen trying to help him down the straight. Pushed him. I don't think any of us breathed for about 10 seconds, especially Shane.
Shane's never been so fast into turn 1.
And never wants to be.
What's this? So the teammates are on the inside of the road. Van Gisbergen's trying to get by Jonathan Webb in the white Commodore on the outside, and they're resting against each other here. And at 270 kilometres an hour, they turn in there all together, and they get away with it. Well done. I love that stuff. That's battling for 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Wow. That's gutsy. Crazy, but gutsy.
For keeps.
So the sun starting to get really low now, straight in their faces. They come down here towards turn 1. That's Michael Patrizzi leading Rick Kelly. There's Van Gisbergen and Alex Prema in front. Here's our race leader, 6.4 seconds now with 8 laps to go.
And I'm down here, Matty, with Roland Dane, team principal. Roland, we're looking at Jamie out in front, 6.4 seconds ahead. You can say it's a little bit la-la, but I think sometimes you just got to stop, haven't you, and think, Jamie's done this so many times when he's had a bad Saturday, bad start, delaminated, you know, all those things. He is the best at bouncing back. You identified this, obviously, this quality in him early on.
Yeah, I think excellent resilience, but it's not only Jamie, it's also the whole team. And so Dutto picking him up off the floor yesterday when he was obviously gutted, and making the best of the situation now and bring him out fighting today. So I think it's not only outstanding effort by Jamie, but also by the team around him.
And speaking of team, with Craig going so well, you must be pretty excited about the Enduros coming up, mate.
Yeah, I am. I mean, Craig's got an exemplary record there, but I know Jamie and Paul Dumbrell are all ready to give Craig and Luffy a red-hot go at both Sandown and Bathurst.
Can't wait, mate, and good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you.
I spent some time with Jamie Whincup before this race. I went and sat in the transporter with him and just talked to him about what happened yesterday, and it was a combination of things. And he initially said, look, I got the bad start. That was my fault.
Yeah.
Then he runs into the back of Will Davison on entry to pit lane, which damaged the engine, which made him go out in search of clean air. Therefore, he ends up on the wrong part of the track and runs over something that cuts to shreds his tyre. And, you know, he barely made it across the line. So it was just really that knock-on effect. So to be able to bounce back from a blow is always hard. He copped a lot of knocks yesterday, and he was in a good frame of mind before he went back out today. The critical thing, I reckon, is he got a ripper start.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and Matty, but that's really important, isn't it? And I know Roland rightly gave acknowledgement to the team, but when it matters most, just everything Jamie did today, the start, the first lap, the in lap, the out lap. I watched his pit stops. He stopped on the mark, got the car away beautifully. Just all those little things that matter, he does right when it matters most.
That's absolutely right, Larko. I mean, we've made so many comments over the last couple of years of him operating at the highest level. And today's a very good example of that because he hasn't made mistakes. Yesterday was a very ordinary day, and we said about a 100-point turnaround, and he would have gone to bed last night kicking himself with that start and all the drama that unfolded with the delaminated tyre. But today, he has come out and done a magnificent job. He's been inch perfect.
Interesting thing for me is that despite the random nature of motor racing, we're still seeing this Team Vodafone Ford Performance Racing thing going on out there where they do the winning. Despite everybody else, their collective intelligence and skill set throwing everything they've got at them, these guys are prevailing. But I'm fascinated now by what happens in the closing phase of this race because we know that drivers are on the radio talking about nursing tyres. This man that we're riding with here at the moment, Russell Ingall, he's got the hard tyre. That doesn't necessarily mean he's out of jail either with tyre management. So will anybody upset the apple cart, or will it still be a Team Vodafone Ford Performance Racing scenario at the end of this? These next couple of laps are going to be very, very important.
Well, he's got away. I mean, I totally agree with you, and he has got away from Davison. If you just look in the back of screen, you'll see Will Davison's fallen off by 2.5 seconds now. So he was right behind him, and there's Davison. So the hard tyre performance for Ingall has yielded a result now.
And I'm hearing more and more people talking about nursing the front right tyre. I mean, you can look after the right rear tyre with your right foot, that is your throttle foot, but it's the steer tyre you've got to be a bit careful of around here. In this spot, turns 10, 11, you're leaning very hard on the front. You lean very, look at Bridie, how to dive, how to think about it at turn 11. That hurts. 8th at the moment. David Reynolds, we're looking from his rear bumper rearward.
Wasn't much difference time-wise that last lap around. In fact, Jamie Whincup, after 16 laps on the soft tyre, did a 1:33 flat, and Russell Ingall on the hard tyre in 4th position equalled that time.
Yeah.
But as we know, when the soft tyre goes, it goes in a hurry.
Well, guys, just down in the Holden Racing Team, Boca, and watching closely, and there's been a lot of positives here for the Holden Racing Team this weekend. Steve, I just wanted to ask you guys, must be very happy with the way things are coming together, heading in the right direction, heading into the Enduros.
We won't be happy until we're winning.
Simple as that. But things are coming together, you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, you have to be cautious, but we're building.
And Steve, for you, you've been involved in so many different forms of motorsport. How are you finding the V8s? Is it much different to what you've done before?
Well, all forms of high-level motorsport's competitive, and this is no different. We're just getting our heads around it and getting on with the job.
All the best. Good luck for the Enduros.
Yeah, it's been a good bounce back, Barrett, you're right, from Queensland Raceway. The Holden Racing Team, Walkinshaw Run, never happy with 5th and 6th, but when you're coming off the round like they had up at QR, you're right, the arrow's pointing the right way. Rick Kelly off into the dust up there at turn 2.
And that's dropped him back to 15th in behind Tim Slade. Back to David Reynolds here. He's 7th still.
Yeah, and boys, they've just got a tyre out here for Kelly's car in the pit lane, and I'm hearing possible tyre delamination. So this is what can happen when you push them too hard late in the day.
That was my point, Larko, about this closing phase of the race now, and who's got anything to fight with and who's just nursing their car. There won't be much left to push. So Reynolds and Bright 7th and 8th at the moment. It's still 7.4 seconds Whincup to Lowndes. 3.6 seconds is the gap Lowndes to Winterbottom.
But what a red-hot championship. 1 point between the factory Holden team of Triple Eight Racing and Mark Winterbottom in the factory FPR car coming into the Enduros, when Neil said before about how high the stakes are. 300 points for each of the next 3 Enduros with co-drivers. Wow, it's going to be on.
Yeah, so 900 across the 3 events. And we're theoretically talking about a 1-point margin between 1st and 2nd at the moment, and the stakes are raised. The complexity of the races goes up. You share the car. We see weather intervene. You've got to keep one eye on trying to win a couple of the biggest races or succeed in the biggest races of the year. And on the other hand, you've also got to keep one eye on the way in which you manage your championship. 29 races make up this year's championship season.
He's done a very good job, hasn't he? He's driven the car very well today. 7.8 second lead over his teammate Lowndes. Lowndes was untouchable yesterday. He did a magnificent job in the race, flowed the car, made the tyres live much longer than anybody else. But today, Whincup's been able to turn the tide and has done a very, very professional job of using every bit of road. We've been saying the whole time about the flow and the way that you keep the load off the tyre. And he's been the benchmark over the last couple of years. And today is a great example of it. And this is a little love tap from Jason Bright on the back of David Reynolds.
Down at turn 2 in the hairpin. It was a great shot that we had at this very spot just earlier of Jamie and the way he ran the car right out to the edge of the road. You can just see by the body language of the car how he's trying to ease the load on the tyres. We'll check the gaps for you here. Whincup to Lowndes. It was 8.3. We'll see what it is now.
Mark Winterbottom's been pretty strong in this last sector, because I think he's taken some time out of Lowndes there. That's 3.2 seconds, that gap that you just saw. And he's been very fast.
Lowndes lost a little bit of ground, 1/10 of a second, in fact, to Jamie on that last lap. So I called it as 8.3. As they crossed the line, it turned to 8.41 for Whincup to Lowndes. And
Ingle, the fastest car at the top 5.
Yeah, by a pretty hefty margin.
But he's 5 seconds back off Mark Winterbottom.
But interestingly, I really thought that Will Davison was going to grab him. And Ingle's been able to just get his head down and use the tyres well. As Neil said, even with the hard tyre, you can't just... This is a very difficult racetrack, very hard on tyres. So even on the hard tyre, you can't go mad. You've got to use them well. You've got to cleverly get the best from the tyre that you've got on the car at the time. And Ingle has absolutely done that today. It's been a great form reversal for those guys.
When we graphed the laps last night and looked at the the way in which everybody was using their hard and their soft tyre. There was a surprising number of people that were hurting their hard tyre quite significantly as well as their soft.
It's the Brains Trust.
One hole, please, J-Dub.
Adrian Burgess in the centre. Mark Dutton, who just spoke to Jamie Whincup. And Jeremy Moore on the right.
And what a difference a day makes. Yeah. We checked in yesterday. Jeremy had a big smile on his face watching Craig cruise on home, and Dutto just had a brain freeze watching poor old Jamie with a delaminated tyre.
9.5 seconds is the gap Whincup to Lowndes now. It's 3 seconds to Winterbottom.
Yes, mate, correct.
Yeah, I think Lowndes now is, that's 1.3 seconds in the last lap. And he might even have a little drama because he pressed very hard. He brought that gap from 9 seconds back into 6. So he used the tyres very hard. Total difference from yesterday in terms of what he had to do today. And that pit stop that cost him so much time. And then his track position, he had to come back by and pass Mark Winterbottom. And then he had to use those tyres hard, has changed the way that he's approached the race. And that's what racing's about. Track position and thinking on your feet is so difficult under these sorts of circumstances. And this bloke, again, has been the benchmark.
He's risen to the top again, Scafie, and bounced back yet again. Such a familiar story. This 29-year-old, 3-time series champ already, 3 times Bathurst winner, Barry Sheen medalist, so he's achieved everything. And today, right now, he's about to achieve a personal milestone as well. His first ever race victory at this circuit here at Sydney Motorsport Park. It'll be the 58th of his career, and a massively important one because right now we've got a 1-point championship ball game. Jamie Whincup claims victory at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah! Good work, fellas. Really impressive, Dotto. Thank you. Good job, boys. Yeah, definitely, JJ. Thank you.
Craig Lowndes second, Mark Winterbottom in third. And the enforcer will not be far away in fourth. He's crossed the line. So Lowndes did it yesterday for Team Vodafone. Whincup has done it today. And that means that Jamie has now got 6 race wins for the season.
He'd be very excited inside that helmet.
I want those tyres to come back with less rubber than yesterday's. Copy.
Well, I don't know if that's possible.
We had the engine running a little bit cold during the race. What that means is you can do extra burnout.
It's the icing on the cake. So he's just finding a little spot here, J-Dub. And he's going to line it up.
This is turn 5. That's the big rev. And he's just gassed it up. You can see there on the throttle with a lock. He's basically set the steering lock. And in a minute, we'll see the amount of smoke. We won't even know where he is in a second. There you go. He's turned it back around.
He's turned it around.
That's a turn 5. I'm getting motion sickness, Matt.
He's going to do a vanishing act in there. We so often talk about how when he's at this kind of level, that he makes it look easy, but he's really had to work hard on that.
Well, those tyres are wrecked.
Yep,
Did you hear those tyres? They're the same as yesterday.
Same as yesterday, that's right. So Whincup, Lowndes and Winterbottom. That's our podium after race 19. Will Davison steady as she goes in 5th position. Tim Slade had an almighty battle with his teammate, in fact, Shane Van Gisbergen. So they're 13th and 14th. And Stevie Johnson just couldn't find that pace at the end of the race, despite having the fresh, soft tyres to put on. Carl Reindler in 25th. And Jacques Villeneuve, who will now vacate the Pepsi Max Cruise seat and hand it back to Greg Murphy when we get to Sandown. The lead up to the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. So if you like, that's stage 1 of the season. I mean, it's a big stage, but it's stage 1. 19 races that take us up to that critical moment where we go Sandown, Bathurst and Gold Coast. And that's when the championship really starts to get interesting, although I don't know if you can get any more interesting than it is right now. Just one single point between Whincup and Winterbottom. A great weekend for Craig Lowndes. pole position and a race victory.
You couldn't play it out, could you? I mean, if you said
So
at the start of the weekend there was going to be 1 point at the end of Sydney Motorsport Park leading into the Enduros, you would go, no way.
Well, and Frosty needs a hand to come on back. He won't be disappointed at all with his weekend. I mean, he didn't get the victory that he was hoping for at his home track, but he made a lot of mention of the fact that this is always a risky one just before the Enduros, and he just wanted to be able to stay close. He didn't want Jamie to get away from him. He wouldn't have envisaged what was going to happen for him yesterday to leave here with a 20-point lead, and now just a single point away.
Hey, Craig Lowndes, what a weekend. This is a good one to come away from, and you're 154 points off the lead in the championship, so one race win will do it.
Oh, definitely, Brett, and I think it's been a fantastic weekend, and it's been obviously QR and here this weekend has been fantastic. To have a pole position today, not quite going our way today, but you know, to get a 1-2 for Team Vodafone was pretty sensational.
A springboard, Lowndes, isn't it, into the Enduros?
Well, it is. It's something that it's a great side of the times and obviously the competition, and it's also a great time of the year. It's something I'm really looking forward to getting into endurance time. So, as I said, everyone at Team Vodafone has done a fantastic job. As a credit to Jamie, he did a really, really good job.
Bit of a bounce back by him, Lowndes. Congratulations. Enjoy the podium.
Thanks, Brett.
We'll get over there to Jamie in just a sec, but actually let's get around to Jamie's. Just get his helmet off at the moment. An amazing performance, and Jamie Whincup got some very good news for you. By 1 point, you are the current championship leader. Well done.
Thanks, Brett. I didn't expect that this morning. Yeah, we've had a tough day yesterday, but today the car was fantastic, and we had a good scrap. I got off the line well, which is nice. My uncle owes me dinner. That was a small bet we had, so no, all good.
Mate, how did you turn it around from yesterday? Because that was a tough day.
Yeah, that was a bit of a regroup last night, to be honest. We weren't quick. I made a couple of mistakes, so good to bounce back for sure.
Enjoy that top step. Well done, Jamie.
Thanks, Brett. Cheers.
And Mark Winterbottom, of course, a very consistent, solid weekend for him. Just 1 point off the lead in the championship. Frosty, you've got to give back the crown for the time being, but there's only 1 point in it. You're in a good spot.
Yeah, well, when you look at it, we come in 82 points behind. We come out 1 behind. So, yeah, we tried today. The car wasn't as good as yesterday, but we had to try something. And, you know, 1 point behind coming into the Enduros, it's good momentum. So, yeah, I'm wrapped with the weekend. Great to come home, get a couple of good results, and yeah, focus on stand in a couple of weeks.
Good on you, Frosty. Your home turf. Jump up and enjoy that podium.
Should be good. Thanks, mate.
Down here with Russell Ingall, mate. We keep having these interviews, and I'm rapt to talk to you, mate. Gee whiz, that thing was strong at the end.
Yeah, mate, we took a bit of a punt because we knew all the guys in front of us at the start started on hard tyres and they were going to finish on soft. But after yesterday, we knew we actually had a pretty good pace on hard tyres. So, you know, we rolled the dice. Mate, I was reeling them in towards the end, a couple more laps, and we would have been drinking champagne, I think.
Mate, you've picked your timing perfectly as we roll into the Enduros. I mean, we said earlier in the day, the hardest thing in this game is being fast. And at the moment, that you are.
Got to have speed, mate. And Bathurst, they say it's an endurance race, but it's a 6-hour sprint race. You've got to have speed, and we got it. You know, we're coming good at the right end. I'm feeling comfortable. I mean, didn't even crack into a sweat for an old boy, so I'm really happy with it. You know, and if we keep doing this, mate, who knows?
All right, mate. Well, we look forward to seeing you around for a bit yet, mate. Great work.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
And not only this weekend did Russell Ingall and the Super Cheap Auto crew have speed, but he had smarts as well. He used all that experience that he's built up over 213 championship starts. So look at this for the championship picture. 1 point between Whincup and Winterbottom. Will Davison 122 off, and Craig Lowndes just 154 points off the championship lead. And that means today Craig Lowndes has scored his 99th championship podium, just one short of equaling Peter Brock's record. So Lowndes in another purple patch in this long and stellar career. Let's get to the podium with Brett.
The 2012 Sydney Motorsport Park 360, race 19 of our year. Would you please congratulate our winner for Team Vodafone, Jamie Whincup. In second place, Team Vodafone's Craig Lowndes. And in third place for Ford Performance Racing, Mark Winterbottom. Representing the winning team, Team Vodafone, is Stuart Saunders. Making the presentation to third place, Australian touring car great and member of the V8 Supercar Hall of Fame, Colin Bond. Presenting to second place, the group manager, Big Pond Sport, Brad Van Wheelie. Making the presentation to our winning team, Team Vodafone, is Glenn Matthews, the Chief Executive Officer of the Australian Racing Drivers Club. And presenting the winning trophy to Jamie Whincup is Andrew Leithhead, the President of the Australian Racing Drivers Club. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2012 Sydney Motorsport Park 360 Race 19 winners.
Team Vodafone at the top step of the podium yet again. They've just been so dominant over the last few rounds. Lowndes and Whincup sharing the honours, and Mark Winterbottom, though, is right in this championship hunt. He goes to the Enduros just 1 point shy as the champagne sprays. Jamie Whincup is hopefully going to dry off a little bit. Come and join us on the desk right after this. Don't go anywhere. It's pretty simple in this game. There's no better way to bounce back from a bad day than to start on the front row of the grid for the next race, get a good start, and finish like this in burnout territory. Jamie Whincup, the champion here for race 19. Congratulations, Jamie. Was that the critical thing for you today, getting the good start from the front row of the grid?
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the big main focus points today. Yesterday was a shocker, and that's what resulted in so many other incidents. Just snowballed all the way through the race and ended up last. So today, get off the line well. I know how to do it. It's just I don't do it very often.
Yeah, yesterday was just a shocker. You must have been thinking, oh, what happened?
Yeah. Well, you know what it's like. You just got to I wasn't going for a big start. I just wanted to get off the line, something reasonable, and I couldn't even do that. So pretty disappointed with myself, but pulled it together today.
What were the tyres like at the end, Jamie? Because that was the question mark that we were raising. In the end, it was an 11.4 second margin first to second when the flag fell. But did you have to nurse, or are you in good shape?
Yeah, the soft tyre does wear out a lot, and especially the right front around this particular circuit. So everywhere you go, you've got some issue going on, and one tyre gets loaded more than the other. But this weekend, it was all about the right front. I was sort of nursing. We all nurse that. We all sort of keep it in cotton wool for the whole race to make sure it's there at the end.
Nerves? Did nerves play a part in what happened between yesterday and today, especially overnight?
No, and hey, we did do a little bit of a regroup last night. I haven't had the pace for the last 4 or 5 races, so we just really needed to step up today. We did that, and yeah, couldn't be happier. It's the last race before we head into endurance.
So this is us rewinding now and taking you back to your horror day. So this is what happened to you yesterday. Just explain what it's like to be trying to drive a car with a delaminating tyre. By the way, nice little nudge on your mate Will on the way into pit lane there.
I could have pulled up earlier, but I just got off the brake and hit him.
What is it like when? what does the car feel like?
Oh, this is yesterday. Obviously, I've hit something down the straight trying to get some cool air, delaminated the tyre, which means the rubber's falling off the outside, and then I'm down to the steel belts. And steel belts, do you ever go or a billy cart with ball races or something? No grip at all. Pretty similar to that.
You said to us at the end of Queensland Raceway after we had a chat that, look, my car was good. I felt that I drove well, but I didn't have an answer for Lowndes and some of the others. But today in particular, you had the answer for everybody, didn't you? It's not just a bounce back from yesterday. It's kind of a bounce back from the recent past.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's been 4 or 5 races now where I just haven't had the pace, and I don't like that. I like to at least have the pace, and if I make a mistake, well, so be it. But we had the pace today. That's it's encouraging leading in now to the season of endurance.
Yeah, and of course heading to Sandown and Bathurst. What does this 1 point championship lead mean to you, mate?
Well, hey, I'd rather be leading than coming second. So that's good. But I'll be straight on the phone to Paul Dumbrell tomorrow. So mate, here we go. We're in a good position here. Let's go hard for the next 2.
Step up, buddy. The pressure's coming. Great job today. Congratulations.
Yeah, well done.
Look forward to seeing you at Sandown and, of course, Bathurst. But one guy who won't be with us is about to step out of the championship after filling in for Greg Murphy. Jacques Villeneuve, he's with Larko.
Mate, and hasn't it been great having an ex-Formula 1 champion amongst it? Mate, you've done 4 races now in the V8 Supercars. Give us your read. Give us your take on the cars.
Well, they're hard to drive. I've had a blast. You know, all the Pepsi Max crew gave me a great chance here to have fun and try these cars and see how it goes. But the weekends are tough. There's not enough practice, 2 types of tires to try, and it's a lot to get used to. And we're just finding our way. And our race pace was a lot better than qualifying. Qualifying was a tough one.
So I'm guessing this isn't it, though. You're clearly going to want to come back and do more stuff.
Yeah, I love racing. That's a great series. It's very professional. the tracks are fun, and the tracks I've been on this year have been a lot of fun to drive on, and the drivers are good. So yeah, definitely.
Mate, really enjoyed having a round. And look, I've just spotted over here. There he is, lurking in the background, Gregory Murphy.
Lurking
mate,
deep in the background.
Well, you're sort of walking a little uncomfortably, mate. Are you going to be okay? For the enduro.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to be fine, mate. No, I'm not actually. I'm very comfortable. My back's great and I'm walking more normal than I have in a long time, to be honest. So, yeah, I just tuned up a little bit late here just to see the end of the race and do the ride day tomorrow and thrash out a few laps around here. I'm looking forward to it.
Give us a quick heads up, mate, on just a little bit about the surgery. I mean, I heard you've got a ripping scar up there. In fact, do you want to show us? Your scar? True. Let's have a... Really? They reckon it's a ripping scar. So just tell us, quickly did they do?
Yeah, we put a zip in there so that next time it's a bit quicker. No, it's a fusion of the L5 S1. A lot of people have had similar problems to what I had. They've just basically removed the disc and put a little box in there or a cage in there to support the two vertebrae and put it all back together again.
Mate, you must be motivated clearly by the fact how well Russell Ingall's going. So it's got nothing to it's got nothing to do with age. I reckon it's about skill, maturity, experience, all of those things.
Listen, I think it's great seeing Russ up there. He's the only guy that's putting it to these other 4 cars that are dominating. So good to see him. I'll be supporting him all the way.
Co-driver selection for Bathurst, let's talk about that, and the Enduros.
So Owen Kelly, so obviously incredibly experienced and done a million miles up there as well. So, you know, we're looking forward to it. We've been mates for a very long time, so we're pretty good combo. He fits in the seat pretty good, don't have to make any adjustments, and he's been ripping it up in the States the last couple of weeks and getting some miles under his belt, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, for a bloke that's been laid up, you do, mate. You look fit and focused and looking forward to seeing you back on track. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you that hard. Sorry about that, brother.
Marco, he's just had a few months out and you've given him a whack on the back. It's great to see Murph back in for the Enduros. He's one of those guys that steps up around this time of the year. You couldn't have scripted this one, Scafey, could you? What happened this weekend here?
Well, 82 points to 1 point. I mean, the factory cars against each other. Winterbottom is right in it. Whincup bounced back today, as good as you'd ever see him drive.
And wasn't it great to see Sydney Motorsport Park, what we used to know as Eastern Creek Raceway, back in business after 4 years?
Absolutely. And look, it's a fantastic facility and a fast-flowing circuit which always puts on great racing, and great to be back.
Well, I guess the big question for the other teams up and down pit lane is how do they stop Team Vodafone now going into the Enduros, because they've been on an almighty roll over the last few rounds, both Lowndes and, of course, Jamie Whincup. You can catch highlights of today's race on 7 Mate for Sydney and Brisbane viewers later tonight, and tune into Channel 7 Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth. And our next event, the Dick Smith Sandown 500. Great, 161 laps at Sandown. Perfect lead in to the 161 laps at the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000, the 50th year. Hope you can join us. Don't miss it in 3 weeks' time. On behalf of the boys, all the crew, hope you've enjoyed this one here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Thanks for your company. See you next time at the V8 Supercars. Bye for now.
Man, I kiss you daily. See the scene change, flip backgrounds. Rode the rim of the island and put my tracks down. Tight linguistics, quite descriptive. With the boom, the bat, the bam, well damn, I ripped it. Of the shoreline, rapping the land. It's the radical band sailing on a catamaran. By the seaside, life on the beach road. Far north, southwest, down south, east coast. I don't know, but it feels so easy. Coastal kids who just sing in the sea breeze. Who am I to judge? We just kick it as I boom.